You are watching a free preview of today's podcast on the Browns Film Breakdown YouTube channel. If you'd like to unlock the full podcast, including a great interview with John Jansen covering everything Mason Graham from his time with the Wolverines, go to brownsfilmbreakdown.com, join us, and unlock every piece of content that we offer, including these daily podcasts in their full form, film rooms, newsletters, all delivered to you every single day as we build the best online Browns community with passionate fans across the globe. So come to brownsfilmbreakdown.com, take advantage of many great join opportunities, and we thank you for subscribing to this YouTube channel, where we would appreciate it if you would give us a thumbs up on this video as well. And like I said, come to brownsfilmbreakdown.com and join us today. What's up, everybody? Welcome in to Browns Film Breakdown. It's your Wednesday podcast. It's May 21st, and we're going to get into, in a little bit here, an interview where we're going to spend some time doing. I was able to get a little more success with this than I originally thought, getting some of these local coverage analysts, beat writers, and the like, who can give us some insights on time spent at these universities for these players. I've done this every year where I've tried to reel in people who have covered those athletes the Browns draft and give us some insight on the recruiting process, how they were early in the career, how they were late in the career, how they are as people, leaders, players, performers. I think it's got a lot of value. Like I said, it's been a little more difficult than it usually is to line these interviews up, but I am hoping to get these out and done to you guys by the end of this month before we turn the corner into OTAs, minicamp, and the like in June, and then we hit the ground running with a July training camp that hits later in that month. So a lot of stuff going on, obviously, and we will continue to try to give you guys the best content as possible on the podcast. So today's open, though, I want to spend time on something that I think continues to come up, which is the rotation of the Browns quarterbacks in camp, what that can forecast for the season. Everybody wants to think they're keeping 3 quarterbacks. Here's where I'm at with all of it right now. Mary Kay Cabot came out, Cleveland.com, beat reporter for a long time, been around the organization for a long time, very well connected, and elaborated on something. I don't know if it's something she sourced or a bit more of a projection, but the idea here is that in training camp, OTAs, minicamp, all the stuff coming, the Browns would have a veteran and a veteran and a rookie paired up with the first team or second team. So that would mean, like, okay, if we're going with the ones today, that means Kenny and Dylan are going with the ones, right? The second team quarterbacks rotating are going to be Joe and Shador, and then maybe that flips. So I just want to elaborate on, I don't know that that's 100% for certain. When you have your full 90-man, you certainly can get third team reps involved. So you can run 3 teams through all of your skeleton periods, all of your 11 on 11s, all of your situational periods. I do think there's a decent likelihood that they will run out a third team. And then also, I don't think that this is a sort of static situation where so example, you go out on your first OTA on Monday, and maybe it is Kenny and Dylan taking those reps with the first team. Then on Tuesday, I think it would probably flip where Joe and Shador would take first team reps. My point here is that it's going to be fluid. What you hear and what is forecasted is going to be, at least until the midst of training camp where they iron out some of this stuff based on performances, going to be very fluid. So I just kind of want to remind folks that if it's a true open 4 quarterback competition, expect to see all of these guys running with the ones at various points of OTAs and minicamp, and then the early portions of training camp. Now, they can move somebody, whatever could happen, which brings me to the bigger point. I think a lot of people want to predict when the rookies are going to play. And there are some folks who believe, not to say you're wrong, I'm using this as an example, that the rookies are going to start, one of these rookies are going to start week 1. And while I would like for either Shador or Dylan Gabriel to prove they can handle this role right away, it is very rare for a 94th or 144th selection to come in and start immediately. Now, if it's a franchise that is a clear state of transition from one maybe salary cap situation, veteran players, to a youth-driven overhaul, that can be a little bit more logical, right? Think again, 2017, kind of not Deshaun Kaiser's a second-round quarterback. So that's a little different. Now, if you want to say Shador is a second-round talent, fine, but he was still picked 144, so we're rooted in some realism here. You know, that roster, they knew they weren't going to be hyper competitive. The goals were not playoff bound. Let's see what the young man has. If he gives us enough of an answer, then we go into a draft in 2018 with some early picks and we can build around him, right? So where I'm at with it right now is the shape of the roster, which has a significant amount of aged talent with the organization. Think about the offensive line, you know, Jack Conklin, Joel Bitonio, Ethan Posick, Wyatt Teller have been with the Browns throughout the entire Kevin Stefanski run. Those guys are all veterans, especially somebody like Joel Bitonio did not sign up to come back and pack it in. Think about the wide receiver talents, a second contract for Jerry Jeudy, who needs to perform to get the money out of it, right? Cedric Tillman trying to catch on, become a real player in the midst of his rookie contract, and you signed Deontay Johnson. Now, cheap, but you still went out and did it. Same thing with the running back room. You're rewriting the running back room to try to amplify the running backs, get them in a better place, rewrite the whole structure of your run game. You draft another tight end to be a bit more dangerous in diverse personnel. And then you think about the defense, investing in Mason Graham, you know, re-upping Myles Garrett, bringing in Malik Collins along the front, right? Think about linebacker. You invest in Carson Schwarzenegger. You got Denzel Ward on his second contract, trying to figure out if there's a third contract for him. You got Grant Delpit on another contract. You brought in veteran safeties. My point is quite simply, I think they want to really compete this year. I know a lot of us point at the schedule difficulty, the pick that they got out of Jacksonville to have more ammunition in 2026. This is like, well, they're not going to be good this year and they know it. But I don't think they're living in that world. I think the head coach and GM know they need to win more games than they did last year, obviously. And they have a roster that is not in the situation that tells me that they're capable of just punting a season because, hey, we got to put a young guy out there early to see what they have. I think week one is going to land in a veteran's lap. Now, could one of the rookies have a fantastic next 2 months, take control of the job, win it in the preseason and joint practices? Yeah, that's a great outcome, right? It's a great outcome. You'd love a Dak Prescott outcome, right? You'd love, you know, that Russell Wilson outcome. But in my mind, where this is most likely to go is it's a Brock Purdy type outcome if one of these two takes the reins, where they're starting the back half of the season and the offense works with that player. Now, the offense is clearly designed more than it's ever been, investment-wise and personnel-wise, to prop up a quarterback, whether that's a veteran in Flacco or Pickett or one of the young guys gets to starting. They want to run it a ton. They invested in running backs, invested in tight end, right? They want to run. They want to rewrite that answer. They got to have that in their back pocket the way they haven't the last 2 years. So, you know, what I'm thinking here as of May 21st is that they are the roster tells me that unless one of these young quarterbacks lights it on fire, which we will be here to cover all of that for you, and truly shows them that they are the best option they have as they hit the ground running in week one against Cincinnati to win football games, I do think one of these veterans is going to start. Do I think those young guys get opportunities in the middle to later portions of the season? Absolutely, right? Pickett can, perpetually banged up, not a beacon of health, and certainly not going to light the world on fire. And we know Flacco, who has had nice stretches of hot play. We saw it in Cleveland, quite obviously, had moments in Indy last year, but Joe Flacco lasting 17 ball games in a season, highly unlikely. So I do think the rookies are going to play, but I think those of you who are wishful or not even wishful, but like looking at the entirety of the portfolio for these young guys and being like, well, they played a ton of games at the college level, they should be ready to go. I think, again, it's what message are you sending your locker room? If one of these two doesn't flat out sweep the entire room of competition and blow everybody away, if you're starting one of them with concerns from the veterans in the locker room early in the year, right off the bat, hey, these guys got to get in and play. We got to get in and play them right away. That sends a bad message. Now, again, one of them comes in, sets the world on fire, takes the job, earns it, best player out there on camp sessions, joint practices, preseason. We'll be able to identify it. We'll be able to point that out, and that will be logical. But if all things are even, and I expect them to be in this scenario, I think you're looking at one of the two veterans starting early on. We'll see how long they last, how well they play early, because it does get to the point where you kind of shrug your shoulders and say, we need to figure out if we have anything with these rookies ahead of a pretty big situation in the 26 draft where we have a couple first-round picks. But I do think, based on the veterans, the return of some key parts of this whole thing, that they're going to start one of Joe or Kenny. But I would like to be wrong. I would like to be have a scenario where one of these rookies seizes and runs with that job and really makes it challenging. But that's sort of, and what I mean by challenging is that it makes the Browns think hard about, do they want to take a quarterback in next year draft, because they maybe feel like they have a internal answer. But the Purdy thing, where he's kind of starting the back half of the year, put into a situation where he has to play, that feels a bit more realistic for one of the guys on the younger end, the rookies, to claim this job. They get an audition late in the season, maybe not too late, but late in the season, and they run with it. So I just want to open with that and where I am on the quarterbacks, not to freak out about the order at which quarterbacks are taking snaps, because it's not going to give you an answer in June or the early portion of July. It's just not. It's not really worth spending time on. So I want to remind you that. But I also want to paint, like, if you just think this team is going to start these young guys right away and fold the season, I think that's just underselling where the roster is at so many key positions of guys who have been inside of this for a while and are embarrassed about how last year went and want to really change that in the right way. So I think it leans veteran quite clearly. But again, go seize it, one of your rookies. Now, today's interview is a good one. We're going to get to that now. It is John Jansen, who does really good work, the MGO Blue podcast. He's at 97.1 over there doing Lions games, also doing a ton of Michigan games. Obviously, I think it's 97.1 The Ticket. 10-plus year NFL run with the Redskins, and a little time with the Lions. Was a Big Ten Offensive Lineman of the Year in 98, two-time Conference Player of the Year. First team all-conference player. Just a really, really good offensive lineman. Spectacular for Michigan. Was taken in the second round of the draft there in 99. And anytime you can get, decade worth of NFL success, giving you insight on a player like Mason Graham, you kind of sit up and listen. So I'm excited to get John on, and we are going to jump to that right after this break. If you're on the YouTube side, come over and unlock the rest of this on the website. If you are one of our subscribers, supporters, I very much appreciate you, and we will catch you right after this break.